Imagine for a moment that enigmatic gaze of a cat slowly approaching you. It doesn't just look at you, it rubs up against you, almost as if there's a silent conversation going on. What is it trying to say? Whether it's affection or some secret message, not much is known for sure. After all, this gesture is one of the greatest mysteries surrounding these felines. Cats, like few other animals, have their own way of showing affection, if we can call what goes on in the feline mind affection. The curious thing is that this rubbing is more than just a touch. It's a code. Some say it's as if he's saying, "You're mine now." But is that all there is to it, or is there something deeper? The fascinating thing is that this gesture, which seems so everyday, hides much more about the cat than we realize. For some, it's a declaration of ownership. For others, a way of marking territory. And perhaps for still others, a sign of pure trust. Deep down, cats seem to be testing how well we understand their language, and why they feel the need to express it in such close proximity to us. What if I told you that even the intensity of their touch or the place on their body where they rub themselves says a lot about their intentions? They choose where and how they express themselves, as if every detail were rehearsed. And for those of us who live with these animals, we can't help but question their intentions. After all, are we really that special in their eyes, or is there another reason? Well, rubbing is just the tip of the iceberg. To really understand the feline mind, you have to decipher every movement, every choice of touch and gesture. Because rubbing is just the beginning of this complex and almost mysterious communication, where every act has a meaning. When a cat rubs up against you, it's actually leaving an invisible mark of belonging. It's as if he's saying, "You're part of my world now." This seemingly casual gesture is full of meaning. Cats have scent glands all over their bodies, especially on their cheeks, and when they rub themselves, they release a smell that only they can smell. It's their way of saying, "This is my human." This marking is for the cat a daily ritual of comfort and security. They are creatures who cling deeply to what they know well. You'll notice that, just as they rub off on you, they do the same with objects around the house. Every corner of the home receives this little olfactory signature that makes them feel at home. Thus, the presence of your scent in familiar places reassures them and reinforces their sense of control over the environment. In the feline world, marking is one of the most authentic expressions of care and ownership. By including you in this circle of security, the cat is practically saying that you are an extension of its home. And it's not just out of affection, it's an instinctive need to affirm that the space and the people in it are part of their protected territory. It's a real privilege, as few beings in their world have this right. And it's not just in quiet moments that they resort to this gesture. On days when something strange happens or there is a change in the house, the cat intensifies its marking to make sure that its territory, and you, remain firmly by its side. This shows how much they value constancy and stability in their space. So every time your cat rubs its muzzle or nuzzles up against you, remember, you are part of the safe place it has built. This marking routine, although silent, says a lot about the complex and loyal personality of these little explorers. Always on the lookout for what belongs to them, always careful to protect those who are part of their world. When a cat approaches you and rubs up against you, it is not only affirming that you are part of its territory, it is also sharing something rare. It's affection. Unlike dogs, who show their feelings more openly, cats prefer subtle signals such as the delicate touch of the muzzle or that slight nuzzle of the head. This small gesture, so discreet, reveals an intimacy and trust that cats won't give to just anyone. It is through these delicate expressions that cats create and strengthen the bond with those they love. They're not big on showing off, but when they choose to rub up against you, it's as if they're silently whispering, "I trust you." This connection is born of mutual respect and patient coexistence. And so, day after day, these small acts sow a deep bond between cat and human that few have the privilege of experiencing. These moments of touch are also a unique form of communication between you and your cat. That gentle rub on your leg when you get home or snuggling up next to you on the sofa aren't just for comfort. They're a genuine hello and I'm here. It's a kind of conversation without words, but it says a lot about how comfortable and loved he feels by your side. The most interesting thing is that over time, this bond will shape the cat's behavior. The more affection they receive, the more they tend to show it in return, albeit on their own terms. It's a delicate dance between feline independence and the desire for closeness, a rare balance that is only achieved when both understand and respect each other's space and time. So every time he rubs up against you, know that there is a bond being strengthened, a bond that few manage to create with these little guardians of mystery. Each touch is a silent reminder that, despite being so independent, they also need us, perhaps more than they like to admit. Although a cat's rubbing is usually a gesture of affection or marking, it can also hide a subtle request for help. Sometimes a cat will start rubbing against you more insistently or in unusual places, almost as if to communicate something urgent. For those who live with these masters of silence, noticing this difference requires attention to detail, and, in some cases, it can be a clue that something is wrong. Imagine, for example, that your cat has started rubbing itself more often throughout the day, or has chosen places where it doesn't normally seek affection, such as the face or hands in an exaggerated way. This unusual behavior may be their way of signaling that they need a closer look. After all, felines are experts at disguising discomfort and illness, and a sudden increase in the frequency of this touch can be one of the few warning signs. An important detail is to observe whether the cat is also showing other changes, such as reduced appetite, lack of energy, or weight loss. Often, excessive rubbing appears in conjunction with other subtle signs which, together, can point to a health problem. If this happens, a visit to the vet is essential. Small changes in a cat's behavior can be just as significant as any physical symptom. In addition, some cats may seek touch frequently when they are experiencing pain, especially in the joints or more internal discomfort. The warmth and closeness of their owner provide them with momentary relief. Thus, the simple fact of rubbing against each other can hide a request for shelter and protection that, as guardians, we need to recognize. It's the peculiar way cats ask for attention for what they can't express in words. So beware. A cat that suddenly changes its affection habits is, in a way, sending a message. For them, touch is not just a show of affection, but also a valuable and sometimes even urgent form of communication. Understanding what your cat's every gesture means opens the door to a deeper and more genuine relationship. After all, these little felines carry a language of their own, where every touch, glance, and even the way they rub themselves carries a story of affection and trust. By paying attention to these signs, you strengthen a bond that often goes beyond what words can explain. A bond of respect and complicity. Imagine how special it is to be able to decipher what your cat really means when it approaches you. It's a privilege to be part of their private universe, to understand their signals and know when they just want to cuddle, or when something is asking for a little more care. This sensitivity is what turns living together into a true partnership, where you go from being a simple owner to a faithful confidant. And the journey of understanding doesn't stop there. Getting to know cat behavior is a continuous learning process full of discoveries. For those who wish to strengthen this bond even further, there is always something new to learn. A gesture to decipher, a form of affection to explore. It is this mystery that makes living with felines so rich and rewarding. Do you want to understand the feline world even more and discover other fascinating behaviors? Then be sure to watch the next video. There you'll find more tips for communicating with your cat and building a relationship where every gesture is valued. After all, unraveling the universe of these little beings is an experience that only deepens with time. And it's worth every minute.